Hey you guys, welcome to the live. We are going to do a very special read today, which is kind of fun. Also, happy Valentine's Day, which is why I decided to be Miss Mary Jane today, to kind of be like, the red, your bestie, and we're going to do a little bit of a story time. Like going back to one of the very first comic books that I read, period, like when I was like a teenager and stuff. So welcome to the live. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Love Day. I was gonna have a little bit of like a radio show, but I might do that tomorrow with like some of like my favorite love songs for Valentine's Day, right? But that's okay. We don't need to do that just yet. But welcome to the live, you guys. I'm Mary Jane Watson, if you're not familiar. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a read of Civil War. I'm just going to see if I can bring you guys a little closer to me. Let's see. Okay. So, gorgeous, gorgeous. So, I've been a little bit, it's been tough here because in Toronto it's been very cold, very wintry, and I have not liked it. So it's been sad. So let me pull this back a bit. Hi, Red Heron. Let me put this here. Okay. And I also have my other like old school XLR mic capability happening today, and I have my little webbings on today. Hi, Dark Rider. So, what is today's read? We are going to be reading this. Dun, 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 The Amazing Spider-Man Civil War. So, my very first read ever when I was a teenager growing up in Winnipeg, Manitoba, was actually this read. I read Civil War. So this has been done live action before, and there is a scene in this that is quite well known by Mr. Captain America Steve Rogers, where he talks about Mark Twain and being inspirational and Bad Meets 45. Yes, thank you guys for liking it. So I wasn't even expecting to read this, but it is still the tail end of Valentine's Day. And I'm playing Mary Jane. I mean, like, I could also say that I'm playing like the female version of Peter Parker in some regards, right? I am still waiting on my Gwen Stacy cosplay to do and the different Spider-Verse things. I don't know if you guys have seen the new trailer with, oh my goodness, Nick Cage as in Spider-Man Noir, because it actually doesn't look too bad, right? They kind of capture the whole vibe of it. And I've actually done a read. Oh, hey, Cadillac Speedster. Welcome. Oh, so I hope you had a beautiful Valentine's Day, you guys. I'm going to get my hair all going to my gorgeous red locks today. So we're going to read Civil War. Cage would be good in a normal film. I love Nicolas Cage, you guys. We used to have a drinking game, me and friends, about like, every time Nick Cage has like a freak out, you like take a drink. He does a great freak out, actually, like him in, what was it, Color Out of Space? Let me see if I'm going to bring this a little bit closer and have this be more mushroom landy. Yeah, there we go. Gorgeous. Wolfie's at my feet today, and I have my old school mic with me today as well, so I also don't want it to look humongous. That's not the point of having a mic, having it overtake all of it. So we're going to read Civil War. I'm playing Mary Jane today. Hi, Jebediah. Thank you for the roses. And so Valentine's Day. I was going to be doing a workshop today, but I ended up being extremely tired. I've been having a really hard time sleeping over the last few days. I don't know if any of you guys have had the same. I'm a very avid dreamer, but I haven't been able to almost dream fully. Oh, bellissima spider. Yes, Carlos. I am, I guess I like Spider-Woman too. Her name is Jessica Drew, I think. Like Nancy Drew. But The read today, you guys, is this. Whose side are you on? And so I was not going to do a read tonight. I was instead going to do a revisitation of a Greek myth of Eros and Psyche, which is one of my favorite Greek myths. It's actually got a happy ending. And if we think about, Valentine's Day and Cupid and Eros and romantic love, that there are more types of love than, of course, romantic, erotic love, right? However, it's, I think, important to note that, like, that romantic love that ends up being, my one person, my soulmate, my twin flame, whatever you want to call it, I would say that you do not have to have that person in this lifetime for you to necessarily have a fulfilled life, right? But some of us, myself included, are true romantics. And my biggest goal in life was to find my person. And so, me being Mary Jane today is an ode to all the girlfriends, all of the wifeys out there who stand by their man, who, like, bake cookies for them, like when they're out, firefighting or doing heroic deeds, because, there is something to be said about being the support system as well. And I think that our society today has done a lot of Mary suing things. So I love tough chicks. Like Sarah Connor is like my girl. I have like Princess Leia. I love strong, tough chicks, but it needs to be earned, right? You need a good training montage in there. You need something to kind of make it seem like, okay, I see how she's transformed into something. Oh, and Painted Dreams 90, hello, thank you. And Red Heron, thank you for all the support there, my friend. And I think Mary Jane is a good take on like Peter Parker. Let's go back to Peter Parker in just a second. Do you guys have your favorite Peter Parker? Like my hubby, I grew up with Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker, right? And Kirsten Dunst was the Mary Jane in that. And I don't know. I don't know if Kirsten Dunst was the right casting, but then again, I didn't really like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. He is who, like, those movies were fine. I love all the live action of anything. I love anytime you have a possibility for people to have access to a lot of these comic book stories, especially people who will probably never read comic books, right? But Mary Jane, I relate to a lot because she's like your girl next door, your bestie, who you end up developing a crush on, right? And she's just gorgeous, like naturally gorgeous. And she ends up like, in the movies, she goes and becomes an actress in New York. And, they end up having this thing with like Harry and stuff. And MJ, just like Jean Grey, ends up with this situation where they kind of end up being like, oh, you cheated on me, even though they're the ones doing some sketchy stuff too. So I think there's some stuff there to be talked about as it comes to love relationships and like what it takes to kind of keep it all together, right? Let's see here. Let's say hello to everybody, and thank you guys for joining live. So we're gonna get to the read. We're gonna read Civil War. I'm sure you guys are familiar with this storyline just from the Marvel live action, like the MCU doing Civil War. And you basically had a situation where Captain America versus Iron Man, right? Oh, thank you. And you know what? Zendaya, who I love, she's MJ, right? However, like, that being said, she's not really comic book accurate, right? And so I'm not even comic book accurate, right? I tell people this, I'm like, I'm in cosplay, so I'm trying to bring more of like the essence of what these characters are. I don't necessarily think I'm the best casting choice if we were to do it in like a real movie kind of situation. I think, like, I feel like Jessica Cruz, I could probably play her live action. I really vibe with her a lot. Zatanna, I feel like I could vibe with her a lot. But I feel like for you guys too, just what characters, like what. Oh, thanks, Kiwi. Appreciate it. You're only as old as you feel. So this comic book right here, Civil War, I read this when I was about 16 years old. So what year was that? That would be 2001. I was 16 in 2001. So it was a hard year for me. 2001. My friend Cody died in a car accident at 16, as well as like I was in high school at the time. So I went from like, I went from being like to this small little Catholic high school going to an all girls Catholic school, and I struggled with the transition. It was really hard for me to make friends with girls in that context. Girls can be very mean. I did end up, like, because I was in drama, having friends through high school, and it was okay, right? But like two of my girlfriends that I ended up going to that high school with when we started in grade 9, by the time we got to grade 11, both of them had gone. So it was just me and my friend, yeah. Has anyone told you you look good in fishes? Thank you, Dark Rider. Yeah, thank you. Oh, hello, Philadelphia Catwoman, my girly. I'm not with Caduceus. No, we're doing that tomorrow. So tomorrow, you guys, we're going to do a very special Batgirl and Nightwing Gotham Knights 80s mix. So stay tuned for that tomorrow. And also make sure you're subscribed to us on Patreon in the Cosmic Room, because I finally figured out the audio stuff. So all of our DJ sets, before I was like basically doing it all like janky, right? Where I was like, okay, I'm going to take a mic and I'm going to basically record the speaker that we have. We have a JBL speaker. We're very sensitive to sound here in this household. But I've just like noticed in the replay, of course, you can just hear like the room, the sound, and like, so sound design, all of that kind of stuff. Anyways, all being said, going forward, a lot of our mixes we're going to be compiling into a nice little MP3 that you can use in your daily life. You can like drive in the car with it, all that kind of stuff. We'll also have, because I MC it, right? And it's like to provide context to it. And so I've been trying to do a little bit better when it comes to some acting, voice acting when it comes to that. And even with these reads, going to hopefully add some male voices to them, because I am working on starting my own radio station called Renegade Radio out in the prairies. I am going to be working on trying to make it like AM, like official, licensed, all that kind of stuff. These are my contacts, Josh, but I do need them. I was one of those people who used to love reading way late past my bedtime, and I would read in very dim light, so it ruined my eyes. So I ended up having to get glasses when I was very young. But the silver lining to that is that I ended up finding colored contact lenses, and so each of my cosplays, I pay attention to the type of eyes and the type of hair, the type of vibe they all are. Hi, Wolfie. Oh, I have a Wolfie too. Wolfie, is your name short for Wolfgang? We named our, Wolfie's name is Wolfie, the original crypto, but he's short for Wolfgang, like Wolfgang Mozart, and I love music. So you can see it around my neck as well. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you guys about Valentine's Day, about love, and then we're going to get into this read. My eyes are starting to go. I need glasses in low light. You know what they say, though, Red Heron? You lose one sense, other senses are heightened, right? I don't know how to describe this either, but think about it. Your eyes are not the only things that see in your body. Like your whole, like if you think about your body as like a cosmic body, your heart, your toes, your skin, your eyes, your liver, they're all you, right? So that's why they think of like it's stem cells at a very base level. They all know, right? So I think there's this concept of like maybe seeing with your skin, right? Like what is sexy time after all? Doom has entered the chat. Okay, so let's talk about love, you guys. Mary Jane Parker, who I'm playing right now, right? Watson, Mary Jane Watson Parker, hyphenation, who knows? She is Peter Parker's lady love. Now, she's not the only one in some regards, right? You have Black Cat Felicia Hardy, you have Gwen Stacy, there are other ladies in Peter Parker's life, but MJ is always going to be the girl next door. And there's always going to be a very special place in that. Like, I think all of us have that in our own lives, right? That very first sweet, innocent love. That's just like, you don't think it like it's ever going to end. And then you end up with like a first breakup and you're like, oh, frick. Oh, happy Valentine's Day, Deadpool. So, because anyone who's ever been in a relationship knows this, right? Like, it's one thing when you fall in love, it's a whole other thing when you like build a whole life in a relationship and live together and all the other like things that are not quite as romantic get into play, right? However, I will say this. My favorite part of most comic books is the romance stuff. But she loves Spider-Man, not Peter. Ooh, big zzz. That's a great question, you guys. Hey, Voice of Wine. Who do you love? Like, let's actually pull it back a bit. I used to do a thing when I used to go, like, I haven't dated in a long time, you guys. I've been married for like 11 years. We had our 11-year anniversary. Got married in 2015 when Wolfie was born, our doggy. And, but we were together a long time before that. I am a Taurus, though, you guys. So I'm very, like, loyal. So, I'm like a serial long-term dater. What does the Z stand for? Zabrina with a Z. That's what the Z stands for. That's my middle name. Funny enough, though, when I got married, my actual last name is also a Z. So Z also stands for things like lightning bolts, right? And like the concept Zatanna, who I love, Miss Z, Mistress Zatanna, the connection of heaven and earth, right? But all of you guys, all of your names, you also have your own symbols intertwined in them. We've talked about that before on these lives as well. So when it comes to Valentine's Day, do you guys have a favorite, or zebras? I love zebras. Do you say zebras or zebras? Right? The British way. My dad used to be very like particular about stuff like that, right? Or how you spell color. Is it COLOR or COLOUR, right? My best friend Rachel, even growing up, she spelled her name RACHAEL. Now it was RACHEL. I got 3 in my nickname. Hey, color. Yeah, red herring, because we're proper, right? You need that OU in there, right? Or even if things like Michael, you could say Rachel, or you could spell Rachel a whole bunch of different ways. Kristen. So I'm going in the weeds with this, right? Someone had brought up the fact that like MJ loves Spider-Man, not necessarily Peter Parker. I would say the same thing about like Felicia Hardy too, but in loving Spider-Man, you do love Peter Parker because it takes someone like Peter Parker to create Spider-Man. It's like when you, I look at it this way with my D&D character, right? So this last Thursday, we went out for dinner, so I wasn't able to attend my D&D game, so I drank way too much champagne. But anyways, I wasn't available for D&D, right? So I have a character, Mayari Moonchild, and so because I wasn't there, someone else had to pilot my character, who I created, right? So Mayari, who I created, there's so much of her that's me, but she's not, I'm not just her. So loving her does mean that you also like love me, but I look at it in that sense, right? I'm dressed as Mary Jane, or you could say I'm like Spider-Man, female Spider-Man. And the reason why I'm dressed as this is because we're going to read Civil War tonight. And it's because when we think about the different heroes, right, the different relationships that exist, another way of looking at it from an allegory perspective, right, in your own self is that these different heroes can represent different personas you have, right? Maybe there's a little bit of you that's more like Tony Stark, right? Maybe there's a little bit of you that's like Doctor Strange, or like, so when a problem comes up in your life, perhaps these different aspects of yourself push and pull and have discourse, right, as to the best course of action to go, right? In me, I've got aspects of me that's very Taurus, very risk adverse, very like, oh, I need to like check things out before I jump. But I also have like a Venus in Aries. I'm also an Aries rising. I'm a Gemini moon. So sometimes if I feel things, I'll just like F it and just jump, right? So those are two parts of me. Like the part that's like, wait a minute. Oh, thank you, you guys. So I look at when I read comic books, of course I love the characters and the story and everything in it, but in it as well, it's like this concept of how different powers, how different alter egos, how different personas converge on each other, right? And when it comes to love, a lot of times, like I've been married for a long time, and people say like, well, what's your secret to like a long, happy relationship? Or like, and I would say this, my biggest advice to everyone who comes to like me for advice is that your love story is yours. You get to write it. No one else is in there with you, like doing the dirty with you, right? So, in your own relationship, you get to make your own rules, right? And so me and my hubby, like, we made a deal with each other where, like, the minute this stops, like, being fun, like, the minute we stop, like, loving to be with each other and, like, having that sense of, like, I want to share this life with you, then you can have that conversation about maybe that's time that you leave. But it always takes work. That's the thing, right? After that initial, like, oh, rush of like, oh, amore, and I'm like into you, and I'm just thinking about you all the time, and you're crazy, right? That can last. You have to cultivate it, right? And balance it out with all like the other stuff in life, like doing dishes and, changing diapers and going to work and making dinner. So all of these things that are like not as sexy, if we can find a way to talk about it together, right? Then you can make your love relationship any way that you want, right? We used to do this thing with each other where like, if you like open the door for me, I'd be like, okay, you get 3-star points for that, right? So, Saskatchewan, I am good. I am all right. So let's get into the read, you guys. I wanted to just give some preamble because, Valentine's Day, and it's like, it's midnight now. So I'm going back to an OG story. This is an old tale that, of course, they did do a movie about, which is Civil War. The Spider-Man motion comics on YouTube. I haven't seen those ones specifically. I've seen a few motion comics on YouTube, like the Watchmen one I really like, as well as I think there's a few Supergirl ones. 32 years with oh, big seats. Congrats to you for that. I'm a big romantic. I love love. I love couples that can like stick it through. And I've had a lot of relationships recently. A lot of friends of mine say that they've gone through breakups, and I've been sad for them. But at the same time, it's one of those things where if you're in something that's not good for you, then you're also not making yourself available for like who you are supposed to be with. Can I recommend a movie? Oh my gosh. There was a movie actually that we watched recently with Brendan Fraser, called like, I think Rental Family, which was really good, that I recommend. And then we ended up watching it without the subtitles in the Japanese part, which kind of made it hard, but I guess you related to him more. But I really recommend this movie just because it talks about how like in Asian cultures, like in Japan, the concept of like mental health is like not a thing, right? It's so stigmatized, right? But people, let's say they need someone to like go with them to a wedding, or they need someone to like pretend to be like your father so that you can get into a good school. So it's a really great movie. Brendan Fraser does a really great job. It hits you in all the feels, but also you realize too that like we really do need each other, right? And this element of like, oh, we're so polite with each other and we know so much on social media, but when push comes to shove, sometimes we just need somebody to, like, call, talk to, cry with, and just, you don't need answers. Nothing needs to be fixed. It's just, it helps to know that there's just someone there, right? So, Manuel, thank you for that. And I think I welcome to all of you guys, like, if you are that type of person, and let's say you're a very empathetic person who has felt like you have been over, that's a thing. Like, you end up being like, you want to help so much, and then you have no space left for, like, you to help yourself, right? Like in the airplane, like, put the mask on yourself before you help others. But those who are, like, very, very highly compassionate, sometimes it can be hard to generate those boundaries. All right, so let's go into the read, you guys. I'm Mary Jane Parker Watson, your bestie. Go get 'em, Tiger, you guys. And so to all of you guys who walk the path of, let's say, that is not the status quo, right? That you have to weave your own way of doing things. It's okay. It's okay. I will have this also as a replay. And as I said, this is a special read just because it was my very first comic book that I read when I was 16 years old in 2001. I didn't recognize it at first just because I didn't realize that Civil War was an Spider-Man title card. I thought it was like an Avengers thing, but we'll see. Okay. Right now, the war at home. Aunt May, MJ, I need your help. I need to make a decision, and God, I don't know what to do. Because depending on what we do here in the next few hours, in a few days, there may not be a Spider-Man anymore. 0607? Was it? I can't remember how old I was then. My memory doesn't serve me, though. Let's 16, 17. That does actually track too as well. I was probably reading something else that was leading up to it. I'll have to double check what exactly I was reading at the time. It was another crossover event that happened at that time. Remember, you guys, I read comic books when I was a teen, like went away, went into the corporate world, and then came back again. Mary Jane, the Avengers need me. Do they? I'm here just helping the Watchtower. Remember, I don't have powers, right? So MJ and Aunt May are here consulting. And Peter Parker is saying, in a few days there may not be a Spider-Man anymore. Where do I start? At the beginning, I guess. How bad is it, boss? Well, and then, I don't know, Peter. The local first responders in Stamford are still sorting through the debris looking for survivors. Depending on how many were killed, this is very bad. This is bad or very bad. So this is Tony Stark talking here, right? And then he asks, do we know what happened? It looks like there was a fight between two groups of powers. We're still trying to figure out who was fighting and about what. Things got out of control. We're still looking for witnesses who can tell us who started it and why. But, yeah, what have we got? No, just give it to me straight. So he's like on the phone, Tony Stark, like, what's going on? So he's, as you guys know, like Peter Parker and Tony Stark have a very close relationship. And so when there is that war, civil war within the team, right? Having to choose sides, right? Between friend groups. I think we all can kind of relate to that in some regards sometimes. So 2 hours later, everyone's life, Peter, there's an it. Your wife leaves you or you get cancer. There's your life before it and your life after it. Yeah, so they're saying in everyone's life there's an it. There's a thing that happens that changes the trajectory of your entire life. What was it? Oh, yes, 9/11 was an it of national magnitude. And Stanford is going to be another one. Look at them, Tony. The way they're looking at us, the rage in their eyes, it's as if they think that we're responsible. And why not? No, we're not responsible, but we're in the same fraternity of powers. We're the second cousins of the guys who are responsible for the deaths of their loved ones. They hate us, and I don't blame them. Would only think I'm in jail. Well, this is just love for Peter Parker, right? I'm putting up some like love for Spider-Man because I think out of all the characters too, Spider-Man's definitely one of those guys who's like super nerdy, plays D&D, but yet still manages to get the girl, right? Because gotta tell you, me myself personally, big turn on his intelligence. Like, yes, I love hot, beautiful guys. I love a six pack, but there's nothing more attractive than intelligence in a guy. Like wit, all that kind of stuff. So, even Supergirl, like she falls for Brainiac 5 because he's got like level 12 intelligence, right? And even Mary Jane, like all of that stuff, like the reason why we find like guys funny is because you're smart, right? So to all the smart guys out there, yeah. The way they're looking at us, so they're like Tony, Spider-Man, and Iron Man are talking about this disaster that's happened, right? And people are now blaming superheroes for this, right? And not really liking. This is not a current issue. This is an older issue. This is Civil War, which is what the MCU movie was based on, right? And there's some lines in here with Cap that I do want to get to because he has a conversation with with Spider-Man, which is epic, right? So I do want to flip to there eventually. Oh, I have the main story. Yeah, Scott, love it. This is one of my favorites too, by the way. Okay. Even so, we should go back down there. What is he saying here? There could be survivors. Oh, he says no. I was like, I couldn't tell what that was. The no? He's like, there could be survivors. And Iron Man's like, no, we don't go. No, we've already helped out. Oh, sorry, we already helped dig out all the bodies. Then what are we still doing here if we're not doing anything? We're here for the same reason that he's here. Who? Track the helicopter with just your eyes and let the cybernetic system zoom in for you. I'm not seeing any, Oh. His office called from the White House as he was leaving. They wanted me to be here. They wanted me to see what he saw as he was seeing it. 3 hours later, so we could talk about it as soon as he got back. Tony, this is the White House, not church, Peter. You don't have to whisper. Says you. I am so out of my league. I'm just a kid from the neighborhood, right? So I love that about Peter, right? He's like, I'm just a kid from like New York. I'm just from the neighborhood. I have no business being here at the White House. What am I doing in the White House? And I think I gotta go pee. Mr. Stark, the president will see you now. I'll be just a few minutes, Peter. Wait here. Try not to touch anything breakable. Yes, sir. And he's like looking around, Whew. Yeah, don't break the statues, Peter. Come on. Hi, listen. Is there a restroom anywhere around ICANN? He's like asking like this like Secret Service guy, stoic face, not saying anything. Don't worry, you can rely on me, Mr. President. What happened? Tony, what's up? What did he say? 2 things. First, as a former Secretary of State and one of the most visible figures in our little fraternity, he wanted me to know that Congress will meet later today to push through the Superhuman Registration Act. So this is the key, right? There's an act that the government is pushing through to register superheroes as a result of that whole altercation disaster that happened. Now, keep that in mind because this same tactic of the government doing things is still in play right now, right? Oh, true. I love redheads too, right? Saucy redheads. Because you always need like a magic user wifey. And Mary Jane, even though she's not like a superhero, you always need like that support system. You know, like go get him, Tiger. You got this. I'll be there when you get back. Yes, exactly, Scott, right? This is the Civil War, right? How bad guys try to win, right? Where they try to like make you fight amongst themselves. I'm like, that's a bad guy thing. Pikachu, hey, how are you? Happy Valentine's Day. Even though it's the next day now, I'm gonna still stretch it wherever you are. Thanks for that. MJ here. I'm reading Spider-Man Civil War. So the government, because of whatever is going on here, they're now going to enact what do you want to call it? The Superhuman Registration Act. And this part I find interesting, right? Because this is where Cap and Iron Man have like a falling out, right? And it's interesting because you would think like Captain America would just follow orders, but he actually ends up being the one who doesn't want to follow this, right? I'm up to Dark Avengers after these events. Ooh, Scott, we'll definitely go into that. I'm revisiting this because this story is one of like the first stories I personally read, like as a comic book, like even before like the movie happened and stuff. And it is one of my favorite movies too as well. I do like Chris Evans as Cap, how he delivered the line that we're going to get a little later, which I may do as my own Miss Captain America. Like I can do a little skit between me as like female, like Pietra Parker, and Miss Captain America, like gender bended that way. Oh, I love collecting storylines. I love the way you put that, Scott. It's I feel like stories are like commerce. They're like there's nothing like a good story. You know, like there's many fairy tales where like, you know, you're about to go into like the king is about to put you in prison. You're like, no, I have a beautiful story. And don't you want to know how it ends? You couldn't put me in jail now, could you? I have cosplayed as Batgirl. It's so funny you mentioned that because I got a brand new Batgirl, like Gotham Knights purple jumpsuit version. So whose side are you on? Yeah. All that is around these events are the same years. Yes. And, you know, like, remember, they're both good guys, too. And, like, this concept of, like, how the enemy will try to make us fight amongst ourselves to stop us from fighting the evil guys, right? So keep that in mind. Oh, Manuel. Okay, so he's talking about the act, and Tony's saying it's going to be signed within a week or so. I would never understood how in government, I'm like, how can you, like, government just signs off these acts? I'm like, why don't you get, like, people to vote on things like that? Anyways, Tony continues, you don't need a Richter scale to know there's been a tectonic shift in the way the country sees us, Peter. You can feel it. The whole country just shuddered. They want powers identified. So they want people to know who are their like local people with like powers, because I guess they're dangerous. But this has been talked about a lot in DC, where like the mask, your alter ego, is protection not for you. It's protection for your loved one, so that like bad guys don't like kidnap your Aunt May and like use that to make you do horrible things, right? So it's not about protecting ourselves. And so I think that all gets like, you know, and then the government tries to get it and be like, well, we need to identify these things. And like, and that's why we don't have superpowers. That's why we don't have at least people who aren't going to. We have been shown very many times in movies and stuff how the government reacts to those with like gifts. So I have a feeling many gifts in superhuman beings as we talk about things cosmologically, turning of the ages in this reality. As things start to come online, it will be in a more secretive fashion. In spite of like the social media, in spite of all that, I do think it will be in this like cute kind of secret society way of like what it means in like a new way of doing it. Gone the old nefarious like gross Hollywood sketchy-ish that they try to do, right? The stories are the stories, right? Before Christopher Nolan put Batman on the screen, before Tobey Maguire played Spider-Man, Spider-Man was Spider-Man, right? So these things just add to it as opposed to like overwriting it. I think that's for us to keep in mind too. And like the lessons in many of our comic book tales, they seem like they're frivolous, but there are a lot of good things in there that can help us in our way, right? Especially all of you out there who are called to walk the path of superpower. Well, superheroes, I guess. Scott Milner, have I read Maximum Carnage? I have not. I will put that on the list. I do love suggestions of reads, you guys. So please do. That was your first Spider-Man story. I love that. Do you guys, guys in the chat, do you guys have a first comic book story that stays with you? Because that's this one for me, even though my timing on it seems to be a little bit hazy. Okay. But you're going to fight this, right? Asks Peter. I mean, all those guys who have other names, real names they've worked so hard to protect, they're not just going to roll over after all of that. I mean, look at your case. It took you years to convince everyone you weren't Iron Man anymore. I know, which brings me to my second point. He asked me straight up if I was back to being Iron Man. And you? I told him, yes, Peter. You what? The President of the United States asked me a question, Peter, and so I told him the truth. I told him I was Iron Man. But that's not the worst of it, Peter. Not today. Not by a long sight. Not for me. And not for you. But I had nothing to do with what happened at Stanford. That doesn't matter. The world where that made a difference just ended. The rules have changed, and once the president signs that act, those rules become law. Here's how it's going to work from this day on, Peter. Everybody, I mean everybody, in a mask is going to have to take it off, reveal himself, and register with the government. Good guys and bad guys? You still don't get it, Peter. Right now, in the eyes of the people and the government, for as long as we remain anonymous, we're all the bad guys. Ooh, that's kind of harsh, isn't it? Those who refuse to comply will be hunted down and arrested, along with anyone who aided or abetted them in keeping their identities secret. Their assets will be frozen, their homes seized, and finally they will be jailed, imprisoned, and some, potentially, for a very long time. That's kind of crazy. So if you are wearing a mask, you're a superhero, and you don't register with the government, they will imprison you, freeze your assets, and do all this stuff. Who cares if I saved the city just last week and all the good deeds that I did? Doesn't matter. And so, like, you kind of see here, like, because of this event that happened, right? This mass, you call it mass trauma event, right? You need to have someone to blame. There needs to be an act done in order to look like, oh, the government's doing something about it. And so, who loses out? Superheroes. Dun 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 dun. Thank you, Master Sith. Exactly. I love that. Okay. Their assets will be frozen, their homes seized, and finally they'll be jailed, imprisoned, and some potentially for a very long time. And like, I can see you here where like Cap's like, excuse me, why? So now Tony and Peter are in the limo going back from the White House. This is going to split the powered community right down the middle, Peter, and I have to know where you stand. Well, I stand with you, Tony. I told you that. I made a promise, and I don't do that sort of thing lightly. That's why I love you, Peter Parker. You make promises, follow through with your word, that kind of good stuff. And Tony looks back like he knows that Peter was going to say that and says, I know. Peter, I have to take the lead in making the other powers register. And if I don't, someone else, someone worse, will. And frankly, I think it's the right thing to do at this point. I want you at my side, Peter, but I need you both. I need you as both Peter and as Spider-Man. Openly. And Peter, like, his eyes are just, like, bulging out of his head. Just being like, oh, openly, meaning you want me to reveal my secret identity, right? Because he's already freaking out at the fact that Tony revealed himself to the president. But Tony's like, well, the president asked me a question. I said yes, that kind of thing. Yes, it's his true self, yeah. And Peter's, like, eyes are, like, super wide, looking back, saying, boss? Tony, what are you saying? I'm saying that because of my position, I have to make sure everything is on the up and up. And that means the only way that Peter Parker can work with me is if Spider-Man unmasks. And Peter's like, oh, I can't. Don't ask that of me. Anything else, but please, not that. And Tony looks back. I don't know if Tony was thinking that Peter would be like, yeah, no problem. But it's not a light thing because remember, as I said, like the mask, the costume, it protects not just you, it protects your loved ones, like Aunt May, like MJ, like your friends and family. Like, Rogar, the reason why they're making it public is because in the beginning there was this huge event, this mass event happened where people with superpowers ended up being the cause of it. And so the government now wants to release an act which will cause anyone who's masked, doesn't matter if you're a good guy or a bad guy, you need to be registered with the government. And if you don't, they will come after you and hunt you down, that kind of thing. Yeah, there's someone blew up a town, right? And, you know, it's like one of those things where, like, they probably made it look like, you know, because that other, I've read an X-Men comic book before where they had, like, to make it look like it was a mutant that did it in order to create this situation where they had to create laws to make mutants illegal, which is kind of like the same idea here. So let's go for 5 more minutes and then I'll continue this on later. I think I'll leave the Captain America part where he talks about, like, you know, how inspiring he is, right? And what it means to be a country, and it's not the government, right? Yeah, so Peter's like, I don't know if I can do that, Tony. It's not me asking, Peter. If you don't unmask, you'll be just like the other powers who defy the law. You need to follow the law. Wanted criminals hunted, jailed, not just you, but MJ and your aunt, because they'd be considered accomplices. But, like, how would they know that he's actually Spider-Man unless you tell on me, Tony? And, but Peter's, like, looking out the window, too. He's like, well, that's exactly why I wouldn't want to unmask in the first place as well, to protect MJ and Aunt May. If you turn against the law, I can't have you with me. I won't be able to protect you or your family. And Peter's like, oh my gosh, God. We live in a time when everyone has had to make sacrifices of their privacy. Wiretaps, increased surveillance, random searches at airports. Did you really think we would be immune to that Did you really think that we would be immune to that for long? After what happened in Stamford, I've told the flight crew to take you back to New York. So you're not coming? I can't. I have another meeting with the president after he signs the Registration Act. Peter, I'm standing behind the registration. I know this is a big step for you. My pilot has instructions to pick you up if you want to stand by me. If not, not. Goodbye, Peter. Ooh. Tony just did it so flippantly, like, oh yeah, I just told him I was Iron Man, we're going to register, and if you don't, then, the government's going to come after you. And Peter's on the plane just like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Right. Yes, I know it's late and you're about to close, but could you give me the total amount in my accounts? No, not the shared accounts with my wife, just mine. Right. Savings, checking, everything. Uh-huh. And that can be drawn anytime I want. Minus the $2,000 in IRA. Right. Thanks. So he's like looking to pull out all his funds, right? Because he's like, if they freeze all the bank accounts, I need to be prepared, right? Aunt May, MJ, I need your help. I need to make a decision, and God, I just don't know what to do. And then, right now, because depending on what we do here in the next few hours, in a few days, there may not be a Spider-Man anymore. The moment I put on that mask and walk out the door, I become a criminal. Look how great MJ looks here. You're not a criminal, Peter. It's not your fault they moved the goalposts in your heart. My heart isn't the issue, MJ. It's the law. And the law has a tendency not to pay attention to my heart. Right? Oh. Okay. Then let's look at our options. If you go along with this, if you go public, does that really solve the problem? That's right, MJ. I agree. Thanks, Dad. Is Tony going to expect you to help hunt down whoever doesn't come out of the closet? Probably. Are they going to expect you to name names and basically snitch on people who don't want to say anything? I love MJ already for this. She's already leaning towards like, let's not do this. You mean like back in the 50s? Are you now, or have you ever been? I don't know. Maybe. Except I don't know anybody that Tony doesn't know. Which raises another question. If you don't go public, will he turn you in? If he's asked, will he name your name? I think Peter thinks that Tony might, because Tony just went ahead and just was like, yeah, I'm Iron Man, right? He's like, I don't know, MJ. I don't think so. I think he would respect me too much for that. But you don't know. No, I don't know. God, I hate this. I feel like the walls are pressing in all around me. All my life, I've been so careful just to hide all of this. Just the idea of taking off the mask in public makes me feel like someone just punched me in the gut. I know, says MJ. You're upset. You're upset, Peter, but I want you to know we're in this together, no matter what you decide. It's not just my decision, MJ. We all have to agree, because this affects you too. Both of you. If I don't come out, I'll have to go on the run. And so we'll go with you. No, you can't. The moment you do, they can arrest you as well for aiding and abetting. If I go alone, no help, no contact, no money other than my own, and Aunt May's like, oh my gosh, can I say something here? Of course, Aunt May. I mean, I think we know where you stand, but oh no, no. I rather suspect you don't, Peter. When I found out you were Spider-Man, once I got over the initial shock, do you know what my first emotion was? Anger. I know you were disappointed at me for lying to you all those years, and no, Peter, I wasn't angry at you. I was mad at the world, because parts of that world called Spider-Man a monster, a criminal, even before this new law. And if I know anything about my nephew, is that he is not a criminal. There are hundreds of people alive right now because you were there at just the right moment. You have nothing to be ashamed of and much to be proud of. I'm proud of you, Peter. And now, maybe it's time for the whole world to be proud of you too. Oh, I know you are, Aunt May, but I have an obligation to protect you. I made a promise. Yes, you did. At 16, a child's promise that has nothing to do with how the world works. Every day, prosecutors and judges and governors and senators go to work, knowing their loved ones may be jeopardized by their work. But they don't wear masks to work. Do you know why? I don't know, Aunt May. Why? Because their loved ones wanted it that way. Because they would rather die than see the face that they love, the face that gives so much to the world, covered in shame. Some things are worth the risk, Peter, and you are one of them. MJ, do something. Talk some sense into her. Peter, she'll listen to you. I know it. I think she's right. Don't run. Stand your ground and let the whole world understand why we love you more than life itself. Go get him, Tiger. All right, so that'll be where I end this read for today. Right, on our Valentine's Day. Thank you guys for joining. Several next month we're trying to do this in one more day. Then the arc sheet. Oh no. Omnibus. Oh yes, you guys talking about all the comic books that got you. Oh, I thought I did not. Oh, you guys. All right. Thank you for joining me for this read as MJ for, well, Valentine's Day into the next Valentine's Day. Ron Garney's art. Yeah. I really love just certain comic books, how each of the heroes are drawn. Gorgeous. And I do want to read, there's this wonderful scene later on in this comic book where, I'll just give you like a little bit of a preview of it, where Spidey and Cap have a whole conversation, and Cap basically talks to Spidey about, when the whole world and the mob tells you to move, you stand like a tree by the river of truth and you say, no, you move. I am doing huge things. The Fire Horse, right? The Fire Horse, which is on Tuesday, you guys. The new lunar year, right? So I do have a cosplay calendar that is coming out hopefully by Tuesday. And in that calendar, I'm going to have special dates for like the new moons and the full moons so that you in your own cosmic cycle, because all of you guys have a moon sign, and we do all are affected by everything universally, right? It's why, you guys already know this story. We already kind of get certain things past a certain level, right? Like knowing things about Spidey, you get all this other information and intel that's like underneath that symbol. Oh, so which issue was I reading? I was reading the very first one just to, get us into that, get us into the whole understanding as to why there was a superhero registration act and why you would have a whole sect of heroes that it would split, right? Where some people are like, I'm doing this to protect those I love, and Aunt May making her argument here being like, you know, like you shouldn't be ashamed of what it is you're doing, right? A part of several. It is because it's this, right? But I just finished reading, so that's the end of that. I'm really playing as MJ, and MJ looks pretty sweet in this. Look at her. Like, I would wear that outfit. She's pretty. She's pretty in shape. She's fit, man. Thanks, Wolfie, and thank you for all of you guys for joining me for this read. Happy Love Day, you guys. I'll catch you all tomorrow. Oh, no worries, Stan Purple. I don't know why it censored that comment for some reason. Thanks for being respectful about that, though, by the way. Oh, yeah. The classic covers and all that. Thanks, you guys, for joining me for this, because Civil War, the comic book itself, it's definitely a hearkening back to, like, old school Marvel days, back before the MCU existed, right? And, you know, Tony Stark, Iron Man, you know, we all fell in love with them again, right? All right, guys, have a beautiful one. That's not and remember, I'm going to leave you guys with, it takes true courage for you to be exactly you in this cosmic game of life. So be sure to play as exactly you, because the universe is counting on you. But no worries, I got your back. Go get him, Tiger. Till next time.